Hi guys, welcome back, and hello if you are new. I hope all of you are keeping safe and well, and also nice and cool. I don't know about wherever you guys are watching this from, but in the UK it is absolutely sweltering here. Apparently it's going to be like 38 degrees on Tuesday, which is insane. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about the weather. I am here to talk about the brand new album from New York's finest trio, which is Imperial Triumphant. So this week I'm going to be talking about their brand new album and follow-up to 2020's Alphaville, which is Spirit of Ecstasy. So if you've never heard of this band before, the best way I can kind of describe them to you, particularly in their aesthetic, is imagine being invited up to the mansion in Eyes Wide Shut after having had dinner with Patrick Bateman at Dorsia and finishing off with an after party with Jay Gatsby. So whereas Alphaville might have been a direct reference to New York City, I think on Spirit of Ecstasy it's very much more of a broader kind of brush that they're painting with. And instead the city is just kind of almost a personification of a city as this monstrous, devouring entity where it's just gobbling up the poor to feed the rich, essentially. Sonically, however, this album is kind of like anything goes. We've got freeform jazz, black metal, death metal, this kind of dissonant noise, industrial, all sorts of different things, all happening at the same time. And all the while they perform it with a hugely theatrical but never gimmicky backdrop. With that in mind though, I think that this record is definitely a lot darker and a lot more intense than Alphaville was. Whereas I feel like Alphaville gave us a few more breathers. There's a lot of kind of real tension that's held in this album, and you never quite sort of feel at ease. There's also, I think, more of an emphasis on this idea of chaos and, in particular, some of the noise aesthetics. And there's a track called Bezum Naya, which is basically kind of like a 7-minute sort of interlude. And as I said, there's a really great kind of push and pull with tension and release on this record. And I think it's really well illustrated on Mercurius Gilded. It has these sort of swelling strings that opens the track up, which reminded me of the kind of depravity of the horrors of Outlast, which I don't know if you've ever played this, but it's a video game and it's one of my favorite horror games of all time. But also in the video kind of has this nice nod to Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. On the surface, the Elite kind of seem suave, sophisticated and cosmopolitan, as we can see on Metro Vertigo and Death of a Highway, where there's synths and pianos. But behind closed doors, it hints that beneath this facade is a kind of feral, aggressive and truly malevolent character that enjoys the pain of others, very much Schadenfreude. I also think that sonically this album sounds incredible. There's really quite tactile sounds on here, particularly with Steve Blanco's bass. It's got this kind of like squishy sound to it, which I really like, and also kind of fuzzy, which adds to the confusion. But then you've got very nimble and airy sounding drums. When it comes to Zach's vocals, I think they've come on in leaps and bounds as well, because there's this moment on Metro Vertigo where he just goes, and it's like, honestly, the world almost opening up and like swallowing the listener. It's absolutely terrifying, but in the most towering way. It was also produced by Colin Marston, who is definitely making a name for himself now. He's produced records by Imperial Triumphant, Gorguts, Krallis. There are also some really great guest spots that kind of enhance the listen and almost kind of create like a jazz vibe, like it's a collective. And on Mercurius Gilded, you've got Kenny G, who's a gifted saxophonist, and his son, Max Gorlick, who does kind of like a special guitar solo. But then on In the Pleasure of Their Company, you've got a fellow New Yorker, which is Alex Skolnick, playing some really interesting jazz stuff. And he is a fantastic jazz player. You know, he does the jazz circuit in New York, and I love it. But then you've also got Snake from Voivod, who is on a maximalist scream, which again kind of adds that sort of anarcho-punky side of the band. And there's also another return from Yoshiko Ohara from Bloody Panda, who delivers these like ear-piercing screams, and that was one of the biggest takeaways from Alphaville from me. But it is literally like an all-star cast, almost kind of like, you know, like a Wes Anderson film where you're kind of like, oh yeah, I recognize them and them and them and them, but they're not necessarily in a main role, but they kind of almost steal the show at some points, which I thought was really, really cool. It's also worth noting that I think, you know, the tracks on here are a lot more dense and a lot trickier, and the way that the album opens with Chump Change, for example, is a lot more technical. It's a lot darker, a lot more evil sounding, which is pretty crazy considering I thought that Alphaville was pretty out there. So with Spirit of Ecstasy, Imperial Triumphant once again proved that they are one of the most exciting bands out there. The amount of different layers that you can extrapolate just from the album itself, and looking at, you know, the sense of art direction, you know, the idea of what the songs represent, their themes. There's so much that you can actually get from repeated listens of this record that it is without a doubt on my contenders for album of the year. It's a brilliant, brilliant record, and if you're a fan of Alphaville, you will love Spirit of Ecstasy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Spirit of Ecstasy is out on July 22nd via Century Media, and it is an absolutely brilliant record. Make sure you give it a listen at the very least. Other than that, I will see you guys very, very soon for, of course, another album review. Take care, my friends.